How's it going, everybody? Well, we had a pretty fun weekend of playoff football. The wild card round was absolutely insane. A lot of games where teams came back, and then a couple games that were kind of boring. So overall, I think it was probably one of the best wild card weekends that I can remember in terms of quality of games. And I'm sure everybody had a great weekend watching playoff football. Well, everybody. Well, not everybody, unless you're a Jacksonville Jaguars fan, an Eagles fan, a Panthers fan, a Steelers fan, a LA Bolts fan, and of course, Packer fans. I'm just kidding. It was a great weekend of football. I went 4-2 in my picks, of course, only getting the Packers and the Steelers game wrong. I probably was leaning more towards the Texans and Bears for those games, but I think I let my bias take a little hold there. Of course, I'm not going to go against the Packers, and I wasn't going to go against Aaron. I was really, really hoping for a Packers-Steelers Super Bowl. I think that would have been a lot of fun. Unfortunately, that can't happen anymore. So, we're on to the divisional round. Good matchups for the divisional round. I think every one of these games is going to be another spectacular. I think it's going to be another spectacular weekend of football. We'll start, of course, with tomorrow. The Bills head to Denver to take on the number 1 seeded Broncos. The Bills getting the job done in Jacksonville. Close game. It was a very good game. 27-24, of course, ended on a interception by T-Law. Josh Allen was Superman again, as he usually is for the Bills. Josh was 28 of 35. 273 yards and a touchdown pass. He also had 11 attempts on the ground for 37 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. Cook, he had 15 attempts on the ground for 46 yards. Shakir, 12 targets, 12 receptions, 82 yards. Kincaid had 3 receptions and a touchdown. Davis fumbled the ball just once. Well, just once, and he shouldn't fumble the ball at all, but he did fumble. Bishop and Green Thompson had an interception each. I can't recall which one was the game-sealing one. They did get to T-Law once, 20 first downs, 7 of 14 on third. Want to clean that up just a bit. 2 of 2 on fourth down, 3 of 3 in the red zone, so that's pretty good. And 7 penalties for 39 yards. Of course, you'd like to see the penalties cleaned up, and of course, the third down's 50%. I think that's average. I would think, right? Average, maybe. I think the Bills are just a lot of fun to watch. They really, the Bills are they're crazy because you could watch the Bills one game and be like, oh, this is the best team in football. These guys are awesome. And then the next week you watch, you'd be like, how did they win it all? And they're going to have a tough matchup heading into Denver to take on the number 1 seed, who's the Broncos coming out of the bye week, of course. I'm really unsure about the Broncos. I've been a believer all season. Don't get me wrong. But I think they're really inconsistent on offense. Really just kind of up and down. But their defense is good. Defense, I'm sold on their defense. After their defense whooped the Packers, I was sold on them. A lot of close wins, though. A lot of their wins, 9 or 10 of them, I think, were by 1 score. But they're getting the job done. Good teams are able to get the job done, so I'll give them that. And Denver's a difficult place to play. I think the key for this game is going to be scoring a lot of points for the Bills, because they gotta get high. Obviously the Bills want to score more points, but I think it's being able to make Bo Nix uncomfortable and get that offense in an inconsistent rhythms. They're not able to score because their defense is very, very good. So if the Bills are able to score 20 something on this Broncos team, 28 points, 24 points, I think would probably get the job done. Because I'm not sold on the Denver offense. Of course, like I said, the Denver's defense is very, very good, and Josh Allen is weird because he has games, of course, where he's Superman, and then he has games where he turns the ball over 4 or 5 times. So I think it'll be a close game. I'm going to give the slight edge to the Bills because I think the Bills have more of that motivation, just coming off a huge win against a very good Jacksonville Jaguars team. And the Broncos coming off the bye. We've seen many times over the years, these number 1 seeded teams, they get the bye week and they come on, they look rusty, they look slow, they look tired. So I'm going to give the slight edge to the Bills to win in Denver. Then we have the Niners taking on the Sea Chickens. Of course, this is going to be the third matchup between these two teams. Last time we saw them, it was really kind of a snooze fest. The Sea Chickens' defense was great, and the Niners were bad at everything. The Niners, of course, coming off a close win in Philly, taking down the defending Super Bowl champion Eagles. 23-19. 23-19. We got 23-19. Never mind. Brock Purdy, he was 18 of 31, 262 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. Jennings had a passing touchdown. That was to Christian McCaffrey on a little trick play. Christian McCaffrey had 15 attempts on the ground for 48 yards. He also had 6 receptions for 66 yards and 2 touchdowns. Robinson, he had 6 receptions for 111 yards and a touchdown. They got to Jalen Hurts once, 1 sack, 6 of 11 on 3rd down, and only 1 penalty. And I gotta say, in this game, Robert Saleh has really has created a very good defense for the 49ers. Of course, the Eagles have been inconsistent all season. I'm sure I've talked about it plenty of times. And it was just a matter of time before the Eagles were it was too much. But this defense played very, very well. At the beginning of that game, it really looked like it was going to be a shootout because the Panthers scored really, really early. Or not really early, but really, really quick, right with the beginning of the game. And then the Eagles scored really, really quick, and then both offenses kind of just took a crap. So that's what concerns me with the Niners. Of course, they had that huge shootout with the Bears a couple weeks ago. Then they play the Sea Chickens at home, and they only put up 3 points. And then they go into Philly, and they score really, really, really quick, and then the offense takes a dump. And, of course, heading into Seattle, Lumen Field's a tough place to play. The Sea Chickens coming off that bye week. Of course, they could be a little rusty, but unlike the Broncos, I think the Sea Chickens' offense is very, very good. Obviously, JSN, Cooper Kupp, Charbonnet on the ground has been great. And their defense has looked very, very good lately, too. This should be an interesting game. Obviously, like I said, the last one was a snooze fest. I don't think this is going to be this case. Of course, the Niners are now going to be without George Kittle. He tore his ACL in that wild card round game. That sucks. It doesn't look like Pearsall is going to play anytime soon. Not that I've seen anyway. So it just seems like Purdy's just losing his weapons. And I think that sucks. And they've just been battered by injuries. This has happened to the Niners before, where they look really, really good, but they're just so injured. So I think it's going to be too much. It's kind of like the Blue Kitties last year in the divisional round. They were looking really good, but the injuries mounted too much, and it was just the luck ran out. I think that luck runs out in Seattle on Saturday night. I'm going to give it to the Sea Chickens. I just think rested, and of course they could come out and look bad, but I just think the Niners are too injured, and I think the season ends for them on Saturday night. I'm gonna go with the Sea Chickens to move on to the NFC Championship. All right, then Sunday afternoon we have the Texans taking on the Patriots. The Texans, of course, dominating the Steelers in that second half, that fourth quarter, 30-6. The Texans' defense looked spectacular. They were so aggressive. That pass rush was so aggressive that A-Rod didn't have a chance. And it was the pass rush was so good. That O-line for the Steelers was so bad. And it was just rough. It was rough for the Steelers. And C.J. Stroud, he was 21 of 32, 250 yards, a touchdown, an interception. Sacked 3 times. He fumbled the ball 5 times. only lost it twice, but fumbled 5 times. So C.J. Stroud, of course, not looking the best. And he didn't have to at the end of the game because the defense was just too much to handle. Marks on the ground, 19 attempts on the ground, 112 yards and a touchdown. Christian Kirk, 8 receptions, 144 yards and a touchdown. Bullock had a pick 6 late in the game. Didn't matter anymore, but a pick 6 nonetheless. They also had a fumble recovered for a touchdown. It was a big man return. 4 sacks on A-Rod. 10 of 15 on third down and 6 penalties. This Texans defense is so fun. They're just they were the pass rush. It reminds me of Micah because it's just like a machine. It's like a machine. They're just nonstop. Go, 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 go. Constant pressure, constant aggression. And that's going to be tough for Drake May and the Patriots to handle. They're coming off it ended up not being a really close game, but for the most part, it was 6-3 at halftime. Really kind of a snooze fest of a game, too, against the Bolts. Where their defense kind of just took over in that game as well. Drake May was 17 of 29, 268 yards, a touchdown, and interception. He was sacked 5 times, fumbled the ball once. He had 10 attempts on the ground, though, 66 yards. Good chunk of that was in one play, I believe it was 37 yards. Stevenson, he had 10 attempts on the ground for 53 yards. He also had 3 receptions for 75 yards. Henry had 3 receptions for 64 yards and a touchdown. It seemed like Diggs was kind of non-existent. Jones and Cassian, I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name. They both had a forced fumble, and they got to Justin Herbert 6 times. This should be an interesting matchup. I think that the Patriots have a better offense, but the Texans have a better defense. This should be a really fun game. I'm going to give the slight edge to the Texans solely because of their defense. I think that if they can create the same pressure that they got on A-Rod, on Drake May, I don't think the Patriots have a chance. I really don't. Of course, the Patriots are the 2nd seed. They're very, very good. They've been consistent all season. I'm going to give the slight edge to the Texans. The thing that concerns me, of course, with the Texans is that C.J. Stroud has not looked the best recently. But in the Patriots, Drake May has been consistent all season. He was obviously an MVP favorite. I still think that goes to Stafford, but nonetheless. But I'm going to give this slight edge to the Texans. This should be a fun game. Slight edge to the Texans solely because of that pass rush. Just because of that pass rush. We'll, of course, see if Nico Collins plays. He got injured. I haven't seen anything if he's going to play or not. Not recently. So we'll see. We'll see. I think the Texans will be fine kind of without him. I know he's a really good weapon, but I still think the Texans win with or without Nico Collins. So I'm going to go with the Texans to get the win in Foxborough. All right, and then we have our final divisional matchup for the weekend. We have the LA Rams taking on the Bears. The Rams, a close game again against the Panthers. They lost to the Panthers early in the season by a field goal, and this time they won by 3. So very, very good game. Matthew Stafford, of course, the MVP favorite. He was 24 of 42, 304 yards, 3 touchdowns. He had 1 interception, sacked just once. Kyron Williams, he had 57 yards on the ground. Puka Nacua had a rushing touchdown. Puka Nacua also had 18 targets, 10 receptions, 111 yards, and a touchdown. Devontae, 13 targets, only 5 receptions for 72 yards. Parkinson and Williams both had receiving touchdowns each. Reeder had a fumble recovery. Durant with an interception. Got to Bryce Young twice. 21 first downs. 3 of 13 on third down. That's not great. 1 of 2 on fourth down. 4 for 5 in the red zone. That's good. That's positive. 9 penalties. Would like to see that cleaned up a bit. So the third downs and the penalties, like to see that cleaned up. the Rams' offense is probably one of the best in the league in terms of star power and consistency. Like I said, Matthew Stafford, MVP favorite. Puka Nacua, one of the best wide receivers in football. Devontae Adams, who in my opinion is the best wide receiver in football. And, of course, I'm biased, of course. But I think he is. I think this Rams offense is going to be tested against a very good Bears defense. And but I think that if there is an offense that can put up a lot of points on these Bears, it's going to be the Rams. Speaking of the Bears, a team that just won't go away. They just won't go away all season. Fourth quarter comeback, and again, on Saturday, they did it to the Packers again. 25 points in the fourth quarter for the Bears. They were down 21-3 at halftime, 21-6 going into the fourth quarter. And apparently the Bears, if they ever learn to play football, side note, they ever learn how to play football like between the first and the third quarter, they're going to score like 50 points every game. I'm just saying. But again, another fourth quarter comeback for the Bears. Caleb Williams, 24-48, 361 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 1 sack just once, and 20 rushing yards. Swift, he had 13 attempts on the ground for 54 yards and a touchdown. Manungai, he only had 27 rushing yards. Loveland, he played another great game, 8 receptions, 137 yards. Moore, he had 6 receptions for 64 yards and a touchdown. Zacchaeus had another receiving touchdown. They got to Pookie once, so 1 sack. Santos, he was 3 for 3 for field goals and 2 for 2 on extra points. Can't say the same thing about Brandon McManus. 24 first downs, 10 of 19 on third, 2 of 6 on fourth down. Only 2 penalties for 5 yards. And they were only 2 for 5 in the red zone. But they got the job done as they have all season long. This, in my opinion, I think this is the best game of the weekend. I think I was really flip-flopping in this game. The Rams' offense is very, very good. The Bears' defense is very good. Their secondary is probably the best in the league. I think they lead in interceptions. I think 3 out of the top 5 guys at one point had interceptions. 3 of the top 5 in the league for interceptions were on the Bears. So this is an interesting matchup. This is I flip-flopped a lot with this game. Initially, I was going to go with the Rams just because of their offense. But after I thought about it, the Bears' defense they're good. Their secondary is good. The pass rush is good. And they're just a team that just don't go away. You can't count them out of anything. The Rams could be up 30-3, and they go to the fourth quarter, and the Bears could win. So, I hate to say it, but I'm going to go with the Bears. I'm going to go with the Bears to move on in the NFC Championship. I just think that they're on a high right now. They just took down the Packers. They just won a playoff game, the first playoff game in Soldier Field since 2018. There's a lot of hype right now with the Bears, a lot of motivation. Caleb Williams is looking really, really good. He's a magician in one way, then he's also can't hit the broadside of the barn in another way, but they get the job done. Romo Dunze was non-existent in that game against the Packers, and they still put up 25 points in the fourth quarter. They just won't go away. But I'm going to go with the Bears here. I think the Bears win. I think it's close. I think it's going to be a shootout, in my honest opinion. But I think the Bears are going to get the win. So, that will give us, if my predictions are correct, that will give us the Bears in Seattle for the NFC Championship, and the Bills heading to Houston for the AFC Championship. We'll see if I'm right. I'm excited for another great weekend of football. I think all these matchups are great. I think we're in for another great weekend. So, as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next week for predictions for the conference championships. So, I'll see you guys then. Thanks for watching. Go Pack, go.